Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another update. So today's update is I really want to talk about certain changes that have now recently just happened when it comes to the world of stimulus checks, including some new plans now that might involve potentially including or finding a new way now to essentially do, simply put, stimulus checks and also stimulus programs that are just meant to help a lot of people. So we're going to get right to it, but as always, maybe real fast before we begin, 10 seconds is, as always, consider smashing the like button if you guys hopefully enjoy videos like this. We are also going to be talking about some more positive things, which is probably the really great news. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell. Of course, you guys can always decide. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts, maybe especially by the end of this video about what you think about the current situation. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So the first thing, maybe as a really quick insert that I really want to talk about, is going to be something that's happening in the state of California. Now, this is actually pretty relevant even if you are outside of California, and we're going to explain a little bit of why. But the story is that, as most of you guys know, is that in California, they were the first state to do additional individual stimulus checks just for people inside of their state. And there were many people that received something called the Golden State Stimulus. There was a Golden State Stimulus 1, Golden State Stimulus 2. So essentially, many people in California actually ended up receiving both a fourth and even a fifth stimulus check. The big news is that, as most of you guys know, and also once again put a video at the very end screen, it'll be on the bottom, that talks about it, more about it. But the idea is that right now at this current time, what's going on there, and this is the part that applies with many other states as well, is that every single year, all of the different states have a certain budget that they currently have, which is essentially just a money, it's all of the money that they currently have, and then the plans of what they hope to do with that money to help the people, or just simply put, to help the states. Because it's not always about the people. Sometimes they end up doing things like helping businesses, roads, highways, bridges, but at the end of the day, the goal is to essentially just help life within their particular state. Now, the big thing is that in California right now, what's going on is that they're working on their budget plan for this upcoming year, because we are now, crazy to think, in the brand new year. Huge happy new year, by the way, if you guys are brand new here. Most people, already heard, but for anyone that's brand new here. So the big idea is that there was recently a brand new change that is now speculated by Gavin Newsom, who is the governor over there, that they may now be changing the stimulus or the budget that they currently have, and now potentially changing it to include more stimulus checks. Now, the big thing I think it's really important to notice is that because this is still in a planning phase, it's not confirmed, so it's not something that's absolutely official, but at least now they're headed to the right direction. And I think that's really the most important thing. Now, how does this actually relate to every other state around the country is really about the fact that, as mentioned, is that because almost every single state right now is currently working on their budget plan, the only big reason why we talk a lot about California is because they're the ones that, it's the state that is planning to do the most amount of programs related to stimulus and, just simply put, direct relief to the people that currently live there. But what this exactly means is that because every single year the state has to essentially, so every state has to essentially work on their budget plan. In most situations, what states end up ultimately doing, and they have the option to do as, whichever they want within means, but in most situations, what states actually ultimately do with their money is that they use it to essentially try to help out the state, but as a whole. So not necessarily its people, but what I really mean by that is that they might be using their money to do things like helping to improve highways, infrastructure, buildings, probably more related maybe to just us is creating more jobs. They do it a lot to essentially help to create jobs, but specifically government related jobs, state programs, things like food stamps, SNAP benefits, state related government assistance. So what's happening right now is that because since a lot of states are now talking about what they want to do with the money, and because of the Omicron situation that's rising, it is believed that there is a very probable chance that there may be a lot of states that now start to come out to do their own individual state programs, but specifically to change things related to the budget that they're currently working on. California has already officially announced ideas that they may be looking to do it, but we just have to see because it, hasn't physically come out yet. But again, at least they're headed in the right direction. But for other states, we don't know what the other states are going to do now. But what we're really hoping to is that maybe by what's happening in California, they can potentially be a model for a lot of other states to maybe get inspired to maybe do something similar. But that stuff is just something that we're still thinking about. Now, when it comes to some other changes, maybe now looking at things on a very, very large federal level. So what's happening in the world of stimulus talks is that, as most people know, is that the Build Back Better plan was essentially something that ended up sadly struggling, and we don't really know what they're going to end up deciding. You probably have watched a lot of videos and articles about it. There is a lot of mixed opinions. That's why everything at this point is really speculation. Some politicians still see it as positive and, bright, hopeful news. Others pretty much have already moved on from the Build Back Better plan. So we don't know what's going to happen there. But one thing new that has actually recently just changed up and surfaced is that President Biden right now, what he's hoping to do is to essentially try to ask for more money from Congress in order to do more stimulus programs. Now, what this actually can involve, and I guess this is the part that's important to notice, is that stimulus programs can come in a lot of ways. It can come with helping the people directly. It can help with helping the economy. It can, help in terms of just creating jobs. So kind of a blend of both the economy and also the people. But probably one of the definitely top stimulus related programs, or certainly one of the biggest ways that he really wants to focus spending a lot of the money, if he's able to get a lot of money again, because he's still requesting it from Congress, is that he wants to take a lot of this money and essentially do things related to just helping the pandemic. Because as most of you guys know is that we are hitting new records every day, cases are rising, and we are all actually seeing life being impacted right now. Most people know, but I work in the events industry outside of this, so I do follow a lot of the events that are happening around the world, how things have been changing and everything. So everything really is coming from first-hand experience. But the big idea is that he wants to essentially spend money on things such as like increased testing, test kits, so being able to provide test kits for people, resources. He wants to help fund things related to healthcare, helping to essentially try to hire and get more workers to help out, because we are going through something right now called the Great Resignation. Maybe I'll see if there's another video that we'll make about that. But the big idea is that the biggest focus he wants to do is just things related to the pandemic, but then beneath that relates to now things related to actual stimulus programs. So things such as like child tax care, relief, checks, anything in that specific world. And I guess this goes on to the next point is because there are also a lot of politicians that are coming out right now, especially on the GOP Republican side. Now, this is to leave, maybe, try to leave out politics as much, but it's just because there literally is politics involved in this right now. But it especially makes sense because right now there is a little bit of a divide inside of Congress, like there has been for basically years and years of history between the Republicans and the Democrats, and them, constantly clashing with each other. But a lot of GOP Republicans have actually just recently come out to essentially try to question Biden, not just about what he's done with stimulus programs, but also about how he's physically spent the money from the last couple of stimulus packages, but especially the third one, because the first two were technically approved in Trump's administration. But the big idea is that what they're essentially now trying to kind of come out to talk about is the fact that because there is still actually technically a lot of money that was approved from the third stimulus package, and even technically from the fourth stimulus package, but the physical infrastructure that actually did get approved, what they're really trying to propose and speak about right now is trying to potentially, that if they're not necessarily able to necessarily do a new stimulus package, but maybe to question if it's possible to take the money that already exists and essentially allocate it into doing other kinds of programs that can maybe be more relevant. So essentially what this really shows is that at this current time, the great news is that there's definitely proof, or certainly enough information to kind of gauge that the likelihood is that there's enough money. So in terms of financially, they do have a budget that's enough to do more checks, to do more unemployment, to do more programs, to do more child tax credit and everything related to that. But it might involve trying to change up some of the actual ways that they're currently spending the money. So maybe instead of spending it on infrastructure and foreign affairs or projects like that, they can change it to actually create programs that are focused now on the actual individual people. That's really one of the biggest changes and big controversial talks, I guess you can say, that's going on inside of Congress right now that they're trying to potentially change. But of course, right now, we don't know what's actually going to happen, but at least we can kind of see things that are moving in the right direction. And I think maybe that's the really, really hopeful thing about it. But of course, again, on the state level, we're already starting to see plans about them potentially including checks. We just have to see it actually printed on paper and officially announced. But beyond this is that that's what I really wanted to share in today's update. So if you guys found something insightful, maybe as always, consider smashing the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell for similar videos. Of course, you guys can decide, but it is always greatly appreciated. And as always, maybe feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts, maybe any thoughts about what you think they should do with the money, or what you think they should just be doing when it comes to just stimulus plans in general. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next.